Yes.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, whoever is joining us today. Today, once again, I welcome all of you on this very important episode of Technovation with Ahmed Javaid. And I'm being your host, Ahmed Javaid, always been able to be bring a lot of relevant topics and to contribute into the knowledge and wisdom community. And once again, we have been privileged with a very expert panel on a very important topic. Today's topic is geopolitics of data, sovereignty, AI, and the cloud. Now, before we start, I would like to just share a few points with our audience today to better understand what is the topic here and what is the background. Considering the geopolitical situation around the region, we have a lot of evolving and dynamically changing power landscape all around the globe. So we are living in an age where the most valuable resource is no longer just an oil, but data. And the new empires are not just built on land, but on the clouds. So, in this new evolving power landscape around the globe, the shifts create a fascinating and precarious moment of the GCC and for Pakistan as well. So, for decades, the GCC nations have masterfully navigated and power dynamics around the energy, positioning themselves as indispensable to the global economy. But today, they are executing a breathtaking pivot from oil wells to the data wells, investing billions of dollars to become AI powered digital hubs. So, we're going to have a very deep dive and interesting discussion with our expert panelists. Before doing that, I would like to request my guests to kindly introduce yourself. So let's start from Zulfiqar Ali Khan Sahab. So, if you kindly introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. As you mentioned, my name is Zulfiqar Ali Khan. I've been working in the insurance and risk management industry since 2005. My professional background includes specialization qualification in insurance and risk management. I am chartered insurance broker FCIA from UK and chartered property casualty underwriter from US, and I'm the first one in Pakistan who got the scholarship in US. I'm also associate in risk management and reinsurance, and have some certifications in the careful and entrepreneur-wide risk management. Over the years, I have working extensively on in insurance industry. In the last year, I have developed my own insurance brokerage office, and mashallah, we are working successfully, and we are developing some products focused on digital transformation, data sovereignty, and AI are now key things in our mind, in banks' mind, in technical organizations in Pakistan. They have these things in their mind. Uh, Today's topic, the geopolitics of data, sovereignty, AI, and cloud. From a risk management and resilience point of view, I will try to input my observation and understandings on that topic. And thank you, Doctor.
Well, warm welcome, sir. And I'm certain that we will all be learning a lot from you today. And definitely, we will all together will be engaging our audience in a very interesting discussion. So, our next guest is, I would say, may not need further
I'm unable to
introduction.
hear Ahmed
We
Jawad
are
Saab. I
hearing
could
a
hear
lot.
Zulfiqar Saab, but I can't hear Ahmed Jawad Saab.
So he has been he has been appearing a lot in our episodes of Technovation with Ahmed Javaid, Mr. Ghulam Shabbir Saab. Before I give the mic to him, and I would like to mention that he has been my mentor, and he has been mentoring the relevant, the policy making community as well. And it's our always a privilege to have him on the board panel with us. And Mr. Ghulam Shabir Saab, if you would like to kindly introduce yourself.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so very much. Really humbled Ahmed Javaid Saab. This is Ghulam Shabbir. I am a humble learner and contributor to the field of public policy design and analysis, as well as digital governance and organizational transformation. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you once again, sir, with us. And our next panelist, and which is industry expert, Mr. Mustafa Ramzan Saab. If you kindly introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Javed Saab. Thank you for having me. My name is Mustafa Ramzan. I am a passionate student of data for last 20 years, and my experience has been in the corporate sector, in FMCG, telecoms, and banking. And I've always solved complex problems using data. And now that data is helping us build AI products and solutions. So about a year back, I founded my startup, which is focused on customer protection, fraud and scam detection area. That's where we are focused in the financial services industry. Yeah, so that's about it.
Thank you very much, and I'm a very warm welcome once again, Mustafa Saab. And at the last, we have Mr. Ayaz. If I may request him to kindly introduce yourself. Ayaz Saab, if right, I think when we still have facing some little technical challenges with Ayaz Sub, and I think we're coming back. So before we start and having our the intense discussion started, I would like to add on what I was been saying, just to paint the landscape of our discussion today. So considering our regional geopolitical situation, and especially which is Pakistan is becoming at the center of the focus in the global power landscape. But being Pakistan as a nation of immense potential and strategic crossroads, this digital revolution presents a historical opportunity for this nation. It's a chance to leapfrog traditional infrastructure and redefine its role on the world stage, not just as a corridor for trade, but as a potential hub for digital commerce and intelligence. But this ambition sits directly in the crosshairs of a new Cold War among the tech giants. The very infrastructure that powers this future, which is cloud, is not neutral. It is dominated by American and Chinese hyperscalers. Every data center built in Riyadh, Dubai, or per se Islamabad is not just a server farm, it is a geopolitical chess move. It comes with strings attached, strings of technological dependency, legal jurisdiction, and strategic alignment. Today, with our discussion, we all will definitely dissect this great balancing act. We will move beyond the buzzwords and into the high stakes strategy of the great technological power game, the real world impact of data localization laws, the race of AI dominance, and the critical question of whether there's a space of a neutral digital hub in this fragmented world. So, with this said, now I would like to push the first question to start our discussion is that for GCC and Pakistani policymakers, choosing a US based hyperscaler over a Chinese one or vice versa isn't just a technical procurement. What are the unspoken long term strategic dependencies from tech stack lock in to the potential alignment with the specific geopolitical bloc that come with that choice? How can they be mitigated? So, may I request to start with Zulfiqar Saab to start, to share his viewpoints on this? Zulfiqar Saab, I think you're still on the mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer this question. You see, choosing a hyperscaler is a strategic move, not just technical, and it creates long-term dependence. And where their dependence comes, we see usually dependence is equal to a risk factor, like putting your nation's critical plumbing under one company's control, and that dependence shows up as geopolitical, commercial, and operational risk, or a new additional risk. In other words, you can say how uh, that dependence appears can be seen in one another way that proprietary services, APIs, and data formats make switching expensive and slow if we try to escape that risk. And there's a chance when if we opt for Chinese clouds or hyperscalers, the sanction export controls one of the possibilities from US side, and political pressure on the other hand. Similarly, where data is stored and who can be compelled to produce it matters for sovereignty and law enforcement's request as well. If local talent and operations are not developed in this region, we rely on vendors for upgrade and security fixations, and that dependence comes with the risk factors. On the insurance side, we can think of a concentration of risk, and as you are well aware of the fact that we insurer are dependent on reinsurance, and primarily our regions depending on Europe and similarly US reinsurers for various kind of insurance supplies. And if there is no reinsurance available, it will be very much difficult to produce insurance for cyber risk and other similar type of operations. Uh, so concentration of risk will be there, and diversifying risk is a challenge in this context. So if we can mingle or use different kind of uh, data clouds, like somewhere we use Chinese and somewhere we use US, and try to mix it out, that can diversify our risk, and risk can be reduced in that way. This is what I feel. Maybe it's not wise in a political scenario or other way. This is my thought on this thing. Uh, like we can go with Alibaba somewhere, and somewhere we can go with the Google Cloud and whatnot. On the other hand, we should also try to make or arrange some local based criteria or clouds in this region. This can be another move. This is what I can think of.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for shedding light on the current, the challenges with this hyperscalers. And being that said, the concentrated risk towards one cloud service provider is a risk on its own. It's a long-term bad strategy. So sharing the risk among the multiple service providers is one of the, I think, short to mid-term strategy. Ghulam, Shabbir Saab, what's your take on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed Javaid, for bringing yet another very, very important area which requires a lot of deliberations, especially the kind of geopolitics this world is facing these days. So, whatever my honorable colleague Zulfiqar Saab has said, so I will build on further to the foundation which he has actually set up for this entire conversation so far. You see, I mean, in terms of geopolitics as well as sovereignty, the stakes are different from variable perspectives. And the first and the foremost important element to consider, or to actually reconsider through many iterations is that whatever the arrangement is, how foolproof that arrangement for data or cloud or engaging, any form of cloud in any of its shape from any origin, how capable it is to defend the sovereignty or to provide a shield to the sovereignty of a nation altogether. So this is basically the central question which a policymaker has to actually address at all the levels, considering that what is basically the centric use of data, right? And as you have rightly mentioned at the outset of this conversation while opening it up very, very diligently, that data is basically very important element of the power's chessboard these days, and it will remain so. Rather, the importance of data as a very very as an enabler, it is going to grow many folds from this point onwards. So here the question is that how a nation can bring in a model of engaging all kind of data services which can actually provide a guarantee to defending the sovereign rights of a nation across all the spaces of data, whether it is the storage one, whether it is operations, post operations, otherwise, data security. So all these facets and elements, both in times of peace as well as in times of, intensity where a nation is being tested by other intruders or invaders. I mean, the kind of situation that we are facing these days actually. So to me, the central question is that whatever the arrangement is, whatever the cost is, how a nation has set up itself to safeguard its data as its sovereign asset, so that it can defend itself from any kind of smallest micro or macro level breaches. So this is the first and the foremost aspect. The other important area, of course, is its overall management, integration, backward and forward, as well as maintaining a flow of operations altogether, uh, all sorts of resources and the cost of resources actually. So those elements are secondary, and the first question is going to actually set up a direction for setting up an overall viewpoint of the policymaker for the data sovereignty and everything like that.
Thank you, Ghulam, for painting the real perspective behind the data sovereignty, the way the nations today should look at it before engaging any sort of international hyperscalers. Where, as Zulfiqar Saab rightly said, there is always an element of law enforcement agencies intervening with the national data, and if the hyperscalers belongs to America or China, they can still have your data, which is the blueprint. So let's discuss it more by collecting more viewpoints from Mustafa Saab. Your viewpoints, please.
Thank you, Javaid Saab. This is such an enlightening discussion. Let me add some. It's. I mean, I know the discussion has been very technical, but let's make it more practical and what we've already seen happen around us. For example, why US banned TikTok, and now to the extent that they want it taken over by one of their local investors. Similarly, why China does not use YouTube or Google the way you and I do it here in the region, be it Middle East, South Asia, etc. So we should learn from the sovereign states, the superpowers, that
They acted on it decades ago. Not they're not waking up to a situation now that where to reside the data. Right before this digital was coming into play and digital was going to lead to the data explosion, by the way, 90% of the data created to date has taken place in the last 2 years alone. So that gives you an idea to what extent the penetration of digital has taken place already. So, having said that, one of the dilemmas that I won't say global south because that would include China as well, but generally, World Bank estimates that developing countries end up supplying data that we our internet data on internet and whatever we are using with Facebook, YouTube, etc. And there's so many use cases in the public space. All that data we are providing it for free to the hyperscalers, to the developed world, and they are building lucrative AI products that we are buying from them. So we are helping them build products for free based on data, and then we are also procuring those products, AI products from them. So World Bank estimates by 2030, if the developing world to act in a certain direction and take care of this challenge, there can be a there can be an addition of $3 trillion to the GDP of the developing world out of this one point aspect of data sovereignty. Now, having said that, in my personal experience, if we talk about financial services industry, they have somehow guardrails through the regulator whereby they're not allowed to go on cloud, especially with hyperscalers. Bulk of their whatever infrastructure is on-prem, and then they have local cloud. If we look at KSA, I think they have also cracked the code whereby they are mandating the hyperscalers to host the cloud in within the geographical boundaries of KSA. So I think the superpowers and the regional powers understand what the challenges are, just like it is important to defend our airspace and our land borders. We also need to secure our digital borders. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Right. I think you highlighted a very important perspective here, considering the longer term goals for the tech giants, which is basically AI dominance through data. And one episode of this TikTok is very interesting to discuss as a case study. So let's collect viewpoints from Ayaz as well. Finally, we are glad to have you back, sir. I mean, and your introduction is due as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, due to certain urgency,
No
I
worries, no
joined
worries,
late and
please.
I
Yeah.
have to go fast as well. So this is Ayaz Uqaili. I'm a member IT Industry Development at Sindh department, that is Science and IT department. And I'm basically, I've been working for the IT industry. They're making policies, engagement with them, and above all, creating a trust between the industry and the government sector, because the majority of the government projects are not being attempted by the our good companies. Reason being, there is a trust deficit, and there are other issues as well. So, I mean, keeping those things aside, you were talking about this data sovereignty, and a few things to say about this. The very first thing we need to look at what is happening in Pakistan. All you know about that, just to point it out, just to refresh this, that we have got the cloud first policy. The whole objective of this cloud first policy is the preference should be given to the cloud, and again within that cloud, the cloud should be the local cloud. Now, this is the policy which is there and it is being implemented. In Sindh, we are pursuing it. We are pursuing it very harsh. I mean, just yesterday I had a meeting with my colleagues on this. They were, I mean, building their on-prem systems, or they were, I mean, eyeing for the AWS, but they were asked to I mean, look for the local clouds. Though the local clouds are not at par with the global clouds that are available, obviously, but unless we consume them, we give them the businesses, we invest in them, those clouds will not come at par. So we have to trust them, we have to invest them, especially the government has to invest them. There's a huge data.
Exactly.
We are now living in the digital era. There's a whole digital economy around. So there's a bread and butter, right? For all of us, I mean, data centers and the local clouds, our own clouds. Having said this, I would like to inform you as well that there are lots of other attempts being made to build up world-class data centers in Sen, and I hope within year or 2 years time, hopefully, you will see a significant, progress in that area. So yes, we are all for the data sovereignty. We have to have it. We need to have our data onshore. That's important, onshore. And if with the global clouds, those global clouds has to have their presence, their physical presence within our country, and we should force them to come over. Whether they find it feasible or commercial or not, that's another story. But we must go for that. So this few cents from my side. Thank you.
Exactly, and very beautifully said. Like, because all this global, I would say, the tech dominance for these two one superpower, or other is so-called emerging superpower as well, which we started believing that it's a future superpower anyway. Being that said, is it's very well interconnected direction. If we, in the previous discussion, myself and Ghulam Shabbir sir, we have discussed a lot on the digital governance, the frameworks, the models, what we need, and the ground infrastructure which we need in Pakistan in order to enable these services and to achieve the required level of data sovereignty. There is, yes, there is a lot more challenges which came out as a Jules. I collected all those points, and which Ayaz sir, which rightly said, like, I mean, there is a current need to focus on developing the local domestic hyperscalers. But Ayaz sir, just food for thought, just for the next cycle of the discussion is, if we talk about the local localization of the data, when we talk about, like, focusing on the local hyperscalers, we often hear about the compliance burdens. But beyond compliance, how are these emerging data laws in GCC and Pakistan actively reshaping the business case for investment? Are we seeing a tangible shift where the cost of compliance is being overweighed by the opportunity to build trust, localized data ecosystem that attract new industries? How would you like to say? I mean, let's me come back to you once by collecting other viewpoints from Zulfiqar Saab, starting from Zulfiqar Saab.
Thank you. I actually have to unmute every time, and I forget every time that I need to unmute and I
No
start
worries.
talking. Sorry for that. Thank you for giving me time again. Yes, localization raises cost, but it can create value.
No, sir, can't
Trusted.
hear you, Zulfar sir.
You can't hear me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, I can. We can hear you well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Go
okay,
on.
okay. So, localization raises cost, but it can create value. Trusted local platform, data driven domestic industries, and customers more willing to place sensitive business within the country. But on the other hand, which I feel, personally feel, is quality where we can be compromised. Uh, if we focus on the security side, we may suffer on the quality side. For that matter, we can join hand in the Middle Eastern area, I guess. That is a good idea if we strengthen our inner connectivity between the GCC, Pakistan, and other countries. And such localization give us immediate cost, build or buy local data centers, for example, compliance terms will be higher and revised contracts and higher operations cost will be there. And there will be a medium term upside creates a local ecosystem, cloud providers, analytical firms, data marketplaces that can attract finances, healthcare, and government contracts which otherwise shouldn't locate there. That can be attracted with this because of this cloud services and market trust premium. Customers, especially government, finance, and healthcare, often pay more locally hosted regulated services than that of depending on the foreign cloud centers. And now, if we focus on the insurance side, data localization changes insurance loss landscape. Local hosting might reduce cross-border legal exposure, which other participants discussed already, but increase concentration risk from local outage or local system failures. So dependence again will be high in this case, and pricing and products of cyber risk will increase. So there can be another options like creating some local pool in this region or in some countries like Pakistan and in GCC, we can build the insurance pools in the similar way as we can see in other countries of for flood or terrorism. So this can give us coverage rather than our dependence on the reinsurance from European or US market. Uh, so this is also creating an opportunity for insurance side, if I can say. And Pakistan personal data protection bill is in the way. So we are also focusing on this side, as Ayaz already informed about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and other regions. This is from my side, I guess. I try to give
Right,
you
right. Thank
the
you. Thank
insight.
you. Very important points about the quality, about the challenges of, the local concentration of the risk. So when we move towards the local hyperscalers, so Mustafa, sub your views on this, please.
So I think it's a chicken and egg situation. And recently, I was in GCC attending Teradata's partner conference, and one of the case studies they presented out of Egypt was Citizen 360. And who's the biggest consumer of Citizen 360? It's the government of the country. So imagine an ecosystem where all the federal and provincial ministries are hosted at a local cloud. And then government wants to build a public-private model to expand it further, whereby they should invite the private sector, having built the capacity and the compute which is compliant with the international standards, and invite the private sector to come and host themselves at the local cloud. So imagine there's a cloud city that government builds, and in this cloud city, all the government entities like healthcare, uh, law and order, customs, and ports, these are data rich industries. All these industries, which are sort of managed by the government, are hosted there. Similarly, government can invite the hyperscalers to come and invest in our local ecosystem. They can also invite the donors like the World Banks and the IFCs. So I think there is definitely a business case, but just like we built the motorways, and they offered us a very good business use case. Similarly, this is our digital highway of a digital infrastructure. And mind you, the data centers of the future are going to be very different from what we have today. even the superpowers, especially US, is struggling with that question because AI data centers require huge amount of energy. Like in US, they're talking of 35 gigawatts, you know, and they cannot run on solar and wind. So they are exploring other options like nuclear. So if we are a nuclear country, if we can collaborate with maybe China, Russia in the nuclear civil technology, we could offer just like Bilal bin Saqib every other day talks about, sparing extra energy that we have for Bitcoin mining. The same use case holds for offering data centers to the world, whereby we are offering our local energy supply, excess supply, to manage these AI powered data centers. Look how many data centers you have in Indonesia and why. So with that, I would pass on the mic back to Ahmed.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, indeed, it is like a compute versus energy, balance, and this is the way forward we need to really focus on in terms of national development. Ghulam, Shabbir Sahab, your views, please.
Yes, I have actually missed the part of the conversation. I'm very sorry for that, but I believe that now the conversation that we are undertaking, it is around that which model to actually undertake in terms of having this data or in terms of managing the entire data, right?
No,
So
just
based
let
on
me. Yeah, I understood, but let me just put the question again for you because it's what we were discussing about moving to the data localization, considering the local hyperscalers. But the challenge remains the same. That mean that increases the compliance burdens, that increases the additional quality and the skill set and the rest of the resources requirements challenge. So how we can take it forward?
yeah, certainly. So alongside whatever my colleagues have said, you see, there is ultimately a balance which a nation actually has to strike. Because, without data capabilities all across, as mentioned by Mustafa, 360 degree, for example, so nothing is going to happen, you see. So for this, certainly there has to be a balance between local hyperscalers or locally available data resources which are completely under the control of a sovereign nation, for example, for specific needs or for certain, specific data related hostings as well as data computation related, provisioning. There has to be a balance altogether. But then the biggest problem for the nations like us is that how do we strike on that balance? Because of the overall challenges on the economic, business continuity, business consumption, as well as scale up, related and compliance related issues that we have altogether. So we actually have to um, handle or mess up with a host of challenges and problems before even thinking of a hybrid model of setting up a resource for all our data requirements and data needs, right? So, whatever has been discussed already, so to me, there are two specific compartments or two specific segments that we must be able to look at in terms of striking a balance between having a wholly owned, fully compliant and sovereign data infrastructure, especially for our economic as well as security or safety related usages. So for the economic part, we can again reprioritize that which data sets we need to allocate it to our, from ground up built data centers or data management resources grown at our home. And for the safety and security part, certainly, I mean, it is out of question that you actually rely on any provider of any scale or any, terms of engagement across the globe, even, because that is something which is going to guarantee that you are safe as a nation altogether, and all your, safety, war, and otherwise, surveillance related elements where you consume data. I mean, no way that you can afford to, have any hybrid model altogether, because we have seen most recently that, I mean, it was basically the data and it was basically the infrastructure which actually helped us win within the electronic warfare, and which actually helped the other, which actually has not been able to help the other side in order to
Absolutely.
stay on the course in terms of the adversary that they have been meeting with, right?
Yeah.
So, and similar examples we have been seeing all together in the GCC region very recently, and I mean, and that is happening actually, right? So, amid all kind of challenges, difficulties, there is no question or no shadow casted on the thought that we require a dedicated, self-maintained, and self-compiled, and self-organized and operated data infrastructure for our critical, defense requirements.
Right.
Then comes the economic part. Now, for this economic part, we can certainly, as Mustafa has said very rightly alongside Zulfiqar Saab, that we can certainly, think of hybrid working models where we have all kinds of policies in place. There are certain incentives as well. So we can think of leveraging on those incentives and policies where public sector can join hands with the private sector, can enable them. We can have certain, hybrid arrangements. However, the best thing to do in that case even is that to have this hybrid arrangement built within the boundaries of our own country, and the entire infrastructure is being taken care of by ourselves as well as by our organizations, be it public or be it private altogether. But yes, there is a third element, and that is basically around the a co-joint or joint
Yeah.
arrangement, or block
Ghulam,
basis
sir, just
arrangement.
allow me to come back on that thing, because that's exactly I wanted to take the discussion towards about the
All
future
right,
partnerships and what would be required.
all
But
right,
coming
okay.
back to your very important points, which you have highlighted about that there is no second opinion on compromise of the data on the national sovereignty, which basically directly links with the data sovereignty. And for that very reason, we are discussing about that enabling the local hyperscalers so that we can maintain a better standard of security.
Yeah.
And of course, regardless of the cost, regardless of the compliance challenges, regardless of the quality, we still need to focus as a high priority agenda item on sovereignty. But linking the discussion with what Mustafa Sab mentioned in his previous comment was that the amount of energy, Zulfikar Sab, since you are from the insurance background, you always think and rethink, and the how we can basically keep the situation or keep the momentum going. That's exactly insurance professionals are experts in, just considering that energy factor, because coming up with the AI empowered hyperscalers and the amount of energy what we are needing, and with the considering the current geopolitical situation and our energy challenges, how do you see that, what sort of immediate actions we should start focusing on and picking up, so that being a nuclear powered nation we should consider, because solar is not a solution, right? So what's your initial take on that? Then I'll come back on the additional elements of this question.
Thank you again for giving me opportunity to elaborate another very focused question, and I will appreciate the other panelists for highlighting so many good things, and that their contribution also giving me much insight of this technical topic right now. So, continue with the question. I can focus on one thing, that applied AI and enabling infrastructure, not trying to compete head on to the foundational models unless you already have massive scales of funding. So we need funding basically, and finances for that thing, and or scarce resources we have already put for the other things, but that must be the priority right now, the AI and cloud things. So where is to prioritize and how to rank it? Data quality and governance, trustworthiness, well labeled national data sets, interoperable privacy preservativeness, and the this is, will be the foundation of this working and applied solution. Priority sectors may be energy optimization, crop yield forecasting, water management, predictive maintenance for infrastructure, healthcare, diagnostics, fraud detection, and financial for financial institutions like banks and insurances. These deliver measurable return on investment and political value that can bring funds for us, and model governance and safety, model risk management and audit trials, explainability requirements to manage legal and operational risks. Cloud plus edge capacity in the region can also work as a case study. Long term sources invest in research and foundational models for the future. For that matter, we have to pull up, as we already discussed, in the regional countries like Pakistan, GCC, and China, and even Russia. One of our colleagues highlighted that thing as well. Where for the insurance point of view, uh, AI project like underwriting on that thing, define exposures, control measures, back testing, and model reserve capital is required for that model. Failures can produce systematic losses. For these losses, we can arrange or make some new products which can help encourage AI governance framework by the insurers for the safety that ensures can only the underwriters mean who build the policies here in insurance sector, and take the risk by issuing policies. Public, private, and co-funding is the key element in this site. Saudi Arabia and UAE have active national AI strategies and major public-private projects. So Pakistan can also see or this as an example for this country. So this is my view on that point. I guess I'm giving you on the right direction, not leading to you what you can say in different direction than the question is.
Indeed, indeed, very comprehensive. In fact, I value the inputs of insurance experts because they will not allow some project to start until unless they make sure we can mitigate the risk fully. So thank you so much for shedding the light on.
I need to comment one more thing. At our graduation time, one of our teacher told us
Right.
he or she who is looking in details at the first time has a will to pay back you whenever there is the loss. So that is why we see things in that way.
Exactly, exactly. If we there is no project which can should be started if we cannot make it successful on the paper first, and then we will start jumping into that. So Mustafa Saab, just combining all the key points which have been said related to the economic challenges, related to the energy focused challenges to start, and putting the country on the right track on AI adoption nationally. And recently, if I correlate our discussion with the recently published Digital Nation Act, as well as the Pakistan AI policy as well, which defines the very governance umbrella around that. So, how would you like to encapsulate the way forward in that context?
Well, that's quite a heavy question that has gone above my head, to be honest. But coming back to the energy question, you know, you see, Pakistan faces two fundamental challenges when it comes to energy. One is excess capacity, for which IBPs have to be paid at capacity, and end customers, are loaded in their bills with those capacity charges. Second is losses, distribution losses, which lead to circular debt. And we have just seen the biggest transaction in the history of financial transaction in the history of Pakistan, whereby banks, along with government, have decided to somehow manage to take care of this issue without putting any extra surcharge. I personally think, imagine there's a new customer in the market. There's a new consumer called data centers, more so AI data centers, who are also power hungry, who need energy. So portray a picture in your head, just visualize how efficient an energy market we can create by bringing in AI led data centers into this scheme. As far as the just summing it up, the overall picture, if we were to talk about building such AI data centers in Pakistan, with a view to build sovereignty, digital sovereignty, protect our digital borders, it's more of a vision right now for countries like us, whereby we end up supplying data for free, and then we're also consuming AI products and their data centers. So we have to find a way to claim this back by creating a business case which is contributed to by the government, by the private sector, by the corporates, by the SMEs, by the donors, and even the hyperscalers. We should also make a business case to the hyperscalers, to the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts, that how they can benefit from our local ecosystem, and maybe whatever data centers will be hosted here in Pakistan will be more economical. Who knows? So it's going to be a vision and a dream right now, but I think it's going to be a journey full of learning. And one more aspect I want to highlight or bring to the fore is that whenever we're talking about anything related to technology, we always think that it is tech. Trust me, tech is only one half of it. The equally important other half is talent. We need to invest in talent. We need to nurture and groom that talent. We need to create programs, certifications, specialized degrees which are focused on infra and networks and cybersecurity, which can tomorrow lead such initiatives. So I think the summary for me is, for one, government to have a vision and a plan to claim the digital border. B, energy equation or the energy dimension can become very interesting if this whole challenge is handled smartly. A threat can actually become an opportunity. And when it comes to energy, I don't need to overemphasize the importance of Hydel and what we are doing with our water management. How badly mismanaged our water situation is. We all know that there are floods every second year. So imagine if we were to build reservoirs for waters, how cheap an energy we'll have in this country, and that correlating with AI data centers. And last but not the least is talent. So that's a kind of a summary of what we discussed today.
No, very, very important points. In fact, I mean, I could see that how beautifully you have simplified the overall, the energy puzzle for the Pakistan, and particularly when it comes to focusing on the digital, adoption track, and it can be discussed a lot on this thing. But given the short of time, I just need to jump on my last question as well. So Shabir Saab, by collecting all the points of wisdom which has been just shared, and connecting with your previous point of considering the current challenges in hand and looking into developing the partnerships and alliances with the like-minded nations or the sovereign nations, how would you like to portray that whole situation, and if you can advise on what strategies we should adopt in this context?
Yeah, so this is indeed very, very important area. And for the partnerships and alliances, yes, certainly it is one of the considerate strategies to be adapted actually in order to plug in the gap and in order to strike a balance between data infrastructure, its overall, infrastructural management and handling, as well as the balance that we have been speaking about in terms of, safeguarding our, digital sovereignty, safeguarding our data, and then also, other models of hybrid scale that we have actually discussed. So yes, cross-border alliances are certain your specific cross-border alliances with regards to specific subjects. For example, in the domain of defense and security, economy, the critical infrastructure, and within the economy, even the subcomponents, and especially one of the very, very critical component as being highlighted by other colleagues as well, that is the energy, you see, and talent as well. So one has to think diligently in terms of not only bringing in the alliances, but what to alliance for, and how to make our own house in order so that we still have the charge of defending what that is supposed to be defended under all kind of circumstances, right? So this is really, really critically important. And to do that, we need not only the energy, not only building on to the existing know-how, as well as the encouragement of our private sector to participate in, but we also need to nurture the existing talent and bring in the new talent as well, so that we can stay on the course in the time of both peace and adversity. You see, and within peace, if we are unable to keep the strings aligned in terms of economic and social requirements that we have for the entire, data management, from all its aspects and angles, we won't be able to sustain in times of any adversary, regardless of its scale and quantum altogether, right? So the key is that as it is said that altogether, I mean, the survival is on your own, and nobody is going to call the shots on your behalf, because it is such a cruel world altogether out there. And with the kind of overall geopolitics that we are witnessing, and the transactional leadership that this world is seeing at the top altogether, and once in a century kind of a change that this world is seeing in terms of shifting of the power from one hemisphere to the other. So I think that the indications are very clear. The lessons are loud. We need to understand them very well, and we need to align ourselves. There is no harm in bringing in alliances, making alliances, getting down into memorandas, and doing everything that can be done. However, the best path forward is that to stay in control of what is crucial and critical to be controlled, for example. Otherwise, no amount of investment and no amount of collaboration can actually save you altogether. So this is one. The last thing I would just like to mention is that once a breach happens, it has happened. And the disadvantage that the breach actually has to struck for, you have actually affected that disadvantage. So for that period, for that particular moment, you have bled. So it's better to actually put your house in order so that the suffering can be reduced for that moment, actually, when that adversary strikes or that breach happens. So this is actually the key altogether. Regardless of any model, any governance framework, any amount of alliance or collaboration we want to actually undertake, or any other method we want to adopt, at the end of the day, it is our sovereignty, it is our security, it is our stability which is at stake and which must be taken care of under all circumstances, and that is it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ghulam. Shabbir sir, thank you so very much for shedding light on or emphasizing on the criticality of data sovereignty. So, considering the time, because we already run on our time limit, so I'll just quickly wrap it up our discussion. So, as from the industry experts today, thank you so much for joining. And what we concluded, or what we can take the key points as a takeaway as well, is the our technology global landscape is basically completely focusing on one of the important aspect or pillar of the modern or future strategy, which is data sovereignty. And the of course the national strategies should focusing on that with no compromise on national or data sovereignty at all, considering that the different hybrid models for local hyperscalers investing in sort of hybrid models, and looking for possibilities for better partnerships and alliance with no ignorance on from the talent and workforce skilled manpower development as well. So with that said, thank you so very much, Zulfiqar Saab, Mustafa Saab, and Ghulam Shabbir Saab, for joining us today and sharing your point of wisdoms. And inshallah, the same way, we will be looking forward in the future sessions as well to welcome you and the relevant topics and discussions. And with this said, I would like to take my special or express my special gratitude to the audience who always join us, participate us. Yes, we do have a challenge of taking the live questions as of now, but in the future we will be having that sort of arrangement as well, and we'll be keep bringing a very hot and relevant topics for discussions as well. With this said, take good care of yourself, and Allah Hafiz.